Welcome to Polk Unplugged, where we take county employees out from behind their desk and put them into their natural environments. Today, coming up, we have Dwight Turcol. Welcome to Polk Unplugged. I'm your host, Jeremy Maready, and today we've got a special treat for you. We're talking with Dwight Turcol and his band Bonded by Grace, and a little bit about how Dwight got into music and works with the band and what they do in the community. So kick back and enjoy some of the tunes.
Standing by my window on a cold and cloudy day when I saw that hearse come rolling to carry my mother away. Well, the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by. There's a better on the way. Undertaker, please drive slow for the loved one you are carrying. Lord, I hate to see her go. Where the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by. There's a better on the waiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky.
I wandered aimless, life full of sin. I wouldn't let my dear Savior in. Then Jesus came like a stranger in the night. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light.
about in the 5th grade, 6th grade. I took, back then it was half-hour lessons. I think they give them hour lessons now. But half-hour lessons, I took about 6 of them and then told the teacher I'll just take it from here. And gospel music, my mother, my mom, she's gone on, but never got to see us play. But she always promised, or had me promise, not to play in a rock and roll band or a country band. So I gave her that promise. But it was, we were raised in a church, thank God. And bless her soul, it was all about my mother is one of the reasons we formed this band. Every time, because every crowd is a different crowd. When we play the church crowd, we know them, they know us. But when we do the golf country clubs and the festivals, you're playing for a new crowd. They've never heard you before. So you got one shot at taking them and letting them hear some good old hymn gospel gospel music. So you're nervous, and it's probably until we get done with the first song, and then we just kind of fall into place. But you're always nervous if you're not, there's something wrong, I would think, wouldn't you? We played a Christmas brunch where they had all of our people from Code Enforcement Division come through and go through the meal line. We always have a Christmas or Thanksgiving party. So Chuck and I played some nice Christmas music, and Sherry Sheffield and Cassie Ann and Lisa, they sung with us that day. And when we got done doing that, I told Chuck, I says, you know, we could do something a lot better and bigger for the people. So the band name came from every one of our employees in the office. We wrote down we came up with about 7 or 10 names, and then we all secretly voted. And that's how the name Bonded by Grace came about. Everybody voted for the most part for that name. You don't hear the old time hymns anymore. As you can see, our band does the old time hymns with a different flair. But our goal is to let as many people hear our music throughout mid-Florida, throughout Polk County. And every place we've played, they always book us back and we get standing ovations, so they must like it. And we're glad they like it. We appreciate that. So we just want to play for as many people as we can throughout Florida. Golfing, fishing, riding in my sports car. I had a Harley since 1994. I bought it brand new, full dresser. But I'm getting a little older now, and it's too hot down here. I'm not really pleased with riding it anymore. I don't have any interest. But golfing and fishing, good food, dinner, good sermons, good churches. God has done all this for us. And I would like to just say to the people, we're in some bad times right now. Our government and things are all upside down, and I'm just hoping and praying that the world will come around and wake up, because if we keep going on the path we're on, we're going to be in some serious trouble. And God bless everybody.
Well, now we heard a little bit about Dwight's band and what all they do. So let's delve in a little bit more into what Dwight does for the county as a code enforcement officer.
I am a code enforcement investigator for Polk County, Board of County Commissioners. We investigate all types of properties, both commercial, private properties, industrial properties. Anything to do with properties in Polk County, we investigate to see if all the way from grass and junk and debris to Are they allowed to open this type of business in a certain land use? We investigate those things and make sure that we are in concert with the Board of County Commissioners and the Land Development Code. And that's basically what our job entails here. What we have here, it was a complaint about running a possible business, car repair or small engine repair, and also junk and trash and debris. When I got here, I see that they have a commercial vehicle in a residential area, which is a violation. That's not allowed. I also see a lot of junk and debris in the rear yard and outside storage. We're going to go around the front and I'm going to see if we can see a little bit more. We have people in this commercial vehicle. I can hear them. But walking around the front, we'll be able to at least see if they're having some type of business that they're running here. And again, this is a residential area, so you can't run a business or operate a commercial business or any type of business in a residential area. I've had this property before for junk and outside storage, and they complied, they cleaned everything up, but they're back to putting out trash and garbage and outside storage, as you can see. Anything, if it's not lawn furniture or patio furniture or barbecue grills or lawn ornaments, it's not supposed to be in the yard. You just can't use your yard as a storage facility for all kinds of materials. A lot of times in Polk County, people don't understand that this would be a violation. It's not that they're doing it on purpose. They just don't understand the Land Development Code or are not familiar with it. A lot of times people live a life that it doesn't matter what the ordinance or laws are. They're just going to live the way they want to live, and they live somewhat in squalor. And no matter how much you try to help them, they're still going to live that way. It's just the way they were brought up. A lot of our complaints are self-generated anonymously. Obviously, if we see things while we're in our duties every day, we can take action on that or create a case on that. But a lot of it is anonymous. Sometimes people do leave their names or identification. They're not worried about retribution of any type. But that's how these cases come about to code enforcement for Polk County. All right, on this particular property, number one, we see that they're stealing cable. It's hooked up to the cable network, and as you can see, the orange cord coming down. On this property here, we had written it up for numerous structure maintenance violations. The house was really in bad shape and needed to be condemned. And what these people did is just tore it down themselves. I did talk to the new owner, and they realized that it would just be not financially beneficial to repair the house. The property is not valued as much as it would be to repair it. And plus, I do believe that they had some financial issues themselves. But they tore this house down. In this area here, they had a mobile home without a permit. So they have moved that mobile home, and they left the rubbish and the trash and the garbage. As you can see over here, they just make garbage piles. On the 25th, we're going to come in with our county vendors, and we're going to clean this property ourselves. Normally a complaint comes in. We see that come across the computer, and we have follow-ups, or we take that case, we go to the property, we investigate it, determine if there's a need for a notice of violation or a notice of a hearing, Or we also have an alternate process, demand for removal through property maintenance ordinance. And that's where we can just post your property telling you you have so many days to correct the violation. If it's not corrected, then we turn that case over to a county vendor. And the vendor takes it from there, cleans the property. We remove vehicles, distressed vehicles, of course, vehicles that are not operable. But we do notify you. If it's a land use case or something not covered under the property maintenance ordinance, then that would be a notice of violation, notice of hearing. And we would take you to a hearing if it's not corrected. At that point, the special magistrate will determine if the complaint is credible and what necessary steps have to be taken to resolve this. There usually is a fine if it's not corrected by a certain period, a reasonable period. And that fine it runs on a daily basis, and at some point then it is imposed, usually a month or two after the fine is running, then that lien is imposed against that property. Many times violations are not known by the citizen. They're just not aware that that's a violation. Those are the individuals that do their best to come into compliance. There are others that simply don't care. Their standard of living, so to speak, is not as important as others. They don't look at their properties being cleaned. They could care less. They throw their junk out in the yards. We see this quite a bit. But for the most part, people do come into compliance after they're notified and made aware that that violation is there, whether it be distressed vehicles, whether it be tall grass, whether it be junk and debris. Sheds. We have a lot of issues with permits where they think because they bought a Smith-built or certain types of sheds from your Lowe's or Home Depot, that because they bought that, it's permitted. Well, it's not. You have to have permits for those sheds. When we come across that a lot where they didn't get a permit, so we notify them and they comply with the building division and take care of the problem at that point, and everything's fine. But there's a lot of people that just have lack of standard as far as keeping their properties up. But for the most part, they comply with them after we notify them, yes. The majority of our investigators are former police officers from different departments around the country. Our director, Autumn Fenton, was a former police officer for the city of Bartow. She was also the code enforcement compliance officer. Autumn is very knowledgeable when it comes to the county's ordinances and processes that need to be taken care of. She's just very knowledgeable and very compassionate and concerned about our citizens. The majority of us, as I said, are former law enforcement. We have a few that are not, but under our training program, we do train the investigators for a good 3 to 6 months before they're released out on the street by themselves. So they have a working knowledge of the land development code and a working knowledge of both state and local ordinances. We do go on cleanups, and every time we go on a cleanup, we do go with the Polk County Sheriff's Department. They're there for our safety. And we have had cases where we've had weapons pulled on us. They have been taken to jail. We've had other people that interfered or physically or verbally made threats to us, and they were arrested. So anytime we do something, we still have a law enforcement presence with us through the Polk County Sheriff's Department, and the people that work those details are fantastic. On this particular property, there's a complaint of chickens, roosters, and with the new ordinance, any chicken or fowl or pigs, they have to be located 50 feet from any property line. And on this particular parcel, it's not going to meet those requirements. The individual, I was told, lived across the street renting, and we had a complaint there. He moved the chicken pens, but he moved them across the street to here. So this is just a cat and mouse game, but we're going to put an end to it once and for all. On this particular property, when we have these kind of complaints, they are hearing cases. So this particular property will probably be fined $100 a day until they realize that they can't do this any further. Code enforcement doesn't go in your backyards, but basically the violations that we can see here, there's also junk and debris in the driveway. We don't go in the backyards, but we can go in the front yard and what you see from the street. We also have some very large dogs here, so I don't think I'm going to go any further. And I have photos of the chicken coops and the roosters. Toys we don't play with or we don't violate, only outside storage and junk and debris, overgrowth. We do a lot of residential lots, but as I said before, we do a lot of commercial properties as well. One aspect of this job that I do receive joy from, you're making the community better. You're enhancing the quality of life for that community. And most people, the majority of the people, want to keep their properties upkept and clean and nice, and they take pride in their properties. But then you have those people that live on a block, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, they don't share those same values. So I get joy out of cleaning up communities, cleaning up properties, having people paint their house if there's peeling paint. I've had many times where the wives will actually come up to me and say secretly, "Thank you so much, you gave me a home." And that's satisfaction for me.
Darkness fell all throughout the land as they nailed him to the cross by his feet and his hands. He looked up to heaven and said, "Father, it is done." And when he gave up the ghost, Satan thought he had won. But death couldn't hold him in the tomb where he lay, 'cause he rose again on Easter Day. The King
Well, that about does it for this edition of Polk Unplugged. Thanks for tuning in and learning about Dwight and his band. And make sure to tune in next time because you never know where we're going to show up next.